But what does this look like today? I mean, certainly you still struggle with this stuff. What does it look like today? But because now you are more self-aware, how is it helping others?
Hmm. So, a difference from myself now, as opposed to when I was in college or when I was younger, is, the way I talked to myself was not very kind. And so when I spoke to an organization called She Elevates in July, and they encourage girls ages 8 to 14 to be business women, entrepreneurs. It's a really great organization. And we talked a lot about how it's important to be self-aware on how we're speaking to ourselves, because I was always super negative towards myself.
Today is going to be so much fun. I have with me my dear friend, Erin Porteous, who I know many of the listeners already recognize that name, but she is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Denver. She's already a big star on this new and growing podcast, the Today Counts show. I've asked her if she would be willing to be my co-host, and I'm so excited that she has said yes. Here she is. We've never done this together before, Erin, but here we go. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be back with the community today.
Good, and I hope you've had a productive leadership day.
Always, every day is a productive leadership day, right? To different varying degrees. But yes, today goes in a positive and a productive day so far.
Well, Erin, you have already met our special guest. Why don't you go ahead and introduce her, and we'll kick this thing off.
So today we are thrilled to have Bella Sirpilla on the show with us. She is a marketing director and a buyer. And for our audience, and especially the ladies that are here, you're really going to relate to her story. She's wicked talented. She's goal oriented. You're going to pick up on her drive and her zest almost immediately. And she's going to hit some topics that we all can relate to and all likely have struggled with. And back to the females in the audience, she's already shared with me some of those buzzwords that we know, right? How to be an achiever, but how to wrestle with perfectionism. And what are sometimes those insecurities and those holes we feel inside of us that lead to that wrestling match between achievement and perfectionism. So Jim and I are thrilled to have her here today and look forward to hearing her story and sharing it with you.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, we're great. We're so happy to have you. You have an important message, because one thing I will say is that this podcast is not this particular podcast today. Actually, this podcast in general was not made for folks who do not have ambition. It wasn't made for that. It wasn't made for people who can't take punches, who don't want to grow, who are lazy, all that good stuff. But it was made for the rest. But the rest of us, we got stuff too, don't we? And and we got plenty of problems. And Bella, I just have fallen in love with your heart as I've gotten to know you a little bit better. You have you are kind of directing your ship, if you will, towards speaking to women about some of these issues that Erin threw out on the table. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that? How has this passion? Where's this passion come from? What is your story?
Right. One, thank you so much for the compliment about you just love my heart. That is such a massive compliment to me. So what's funny about my public speaking journey, although it's just started, I always felt that I was called to public speak, but what's funny about it is that I've always had this crazy fear of public speaking, where in high school, I felt like I was going to throw up if I was going to speak. And after every speech, I would sit down and cry out of embarrassment. So I'm kind of at a pivotal point in my life where I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I mean, public speaking in the past truly brought me to tears. And so, I think run towards your fears is a big, it's an important thing to me right now. And, I've had a tough couple of years, but I'm really on the other side. And I really want to impact others through sharing my struggle. And I want to turn my mess into my message. And I think I have a lot of wisdom that I can share throughout the last couple of years. And yeah, so that's my passion comes from, I know what I've been through. And at that point, when I was going through it, I felt alone. And I know others feel that way too, or feel that they need to live up to a certain standard. And so I just want to be that voice to them, to be that helping hand to help others. So
A lot of folks, I think a lot of people who are going to get value out of our time together today, they already know what you are alluding to. As I recall in our last conversation, you've been an excellent student. I just learned today that you play tennis quite actively. You were going to dental school, or you were in dental school.
I was in dental school.
Yeah, you're in school. You have a your undergrad is from what school and in what?
I went to High Point University. It's a small school
Yeah.
in North Carolina, but my degree is in biology and my minor was in business administration. So I thought I was going to own my own practice. And so I, always been interested in business. I come from a family of successful entrepreneurs. So when I went into college, I picked pre-dental, so a biology major, and I had one goal, and that was to get into dental school, and I never looked back. So it wasn't until during dental school that I realized I was in the wrong place. But, I learned a lot through that, and I wouldn't change anything. So
the Bible teaches us to find our identity in what God says about us. Not what we even say about ourselves, because even what we say about ourselves is not accurate, whether
right.
whether we're overly positive or negative or whatever. And I've written down so many things, and I know Erin has too, but and I'm going to come back to them. But I had an immediate question based on what you just said. So in your current life, and you're adulting now, and you have a very important job with your family business. It's furniture and interior decor business, and it's kind of part of this. I don't know if empire is the right term to use, but your family is very entrepreneurial, very business oriented, very very nonprofit oriented as well. I mean, I was kind of pushing your dad. I mean, I see a little bit of, achieving. I don't see a little bit of achieving in your dad. I see a lot of achieving in your dad. I mean, how could anyone serve on that many boards? And I teased
I
him
say the
about
same
that.
thing. I don't
Yeah.
understand.
And now some people do have more energy, right? And energy is a gift from God. I'm not talking about energy to run a 5K. I just mean there's a general outlook, a general posture, a general energy that some people have, and frankly, you have to be a leader for certain. But in your current life, how do these things still kind of haunt you today? But how do you also see them in others, and are you able to help others, at work or with your vendors? Do you ever get close enough? And how is this kind of playing out? In Romans 8:28, it teaches us that God is always working for our good. He's always working for our good, and believing that is critical. to mental health. But what does this look like today? I mean, certainly you still struggle with this stuff. What does it look like today? But because now you are more self-aware, how is it helping others?
Mm-hmm. So a difference from myself now, as opposed to when I was in college or when I was younger, is, the way I talked to myself was not very kind. And so when I spoke to an organization called She Elevates in July, and they encourage girls ages 8 to 14 to be business women, entrepreneurs. It's a really great organization. And we talked a lot about how it's important to be self-aware on how we're speaking to ourselves, because I was always super negative towards myself. And it would lead to my dad getting very hard on me on saying, I would never let someone talk to my daughter the way that you talk to yourself. Ouch. And wow. Yes. And he just said that to me back in July or back in June.
Before you got on this podcast.
Yeah, I think, I get a little bit of imposter syndrome too, where I don't feel sometimes like I'm enough or that I'm worthy of doing something. And so before I spoke at a women's conference in June, the conference was on a Tuesday. On Sunday, I was saying to my dad, I don't know why they want me to speak. What do I have to give to these people? I was crying. I was like, I don't think my message is enough, just all these things. And my dad always tells me to take the emotion out of it and look at the facts. And he said that comment about I would never allow someone to talk to you the way that you talk to yourself. And I really had to take a step back because I have come such a long way, but I still get those moments of doubt. But I had to, during that time, I journaled, and I do a lot of I am statements. And so I would write like, I am worthy, I am empowering, and I write it out to writing. It's like another form of therapy for me. So I think
let me interrupt you just for a second. For those listening, if you think writing personal affirmations is dumb or stupid or pop psychology, here's what you forget. The world is constantly giving you a negative message. It's constantly scripting you. And so our Christian scripture tells us to meditate, and that if there's anything worthy that's excellent or good, or those are the things that we are to meditate. And the only way you can meditate on something is to write it, to memorize it, to say it out loud, to do all those things. Hopefully you haven't lost your train of thought.
No, I agree. I learned that through my therapy. I realized how unkind I was to myself for my whole life. And so, now I think how I'm helping others is, I really feel confident in myself and my self-worth. And I've been able to help friends, whether it's a situation with a relationship where they feel something is on them and it's their problem. And I said, we have to be confident in ourselves and who we are. And, I have taught my friends, I've taught others just those affirmations and just being aware of how we talk about ourselves, because I get really frustrated when my friends say, oh, I look ugly. Oh, I don't look good in this. Oh, I'm stupid, or any negative comments like that, because I used to say those and I truly believed them. And so, one silly comment could lead to, some struggles down the road. And so just being more optimistic and being self-aware of how you speak to yourself has really helped me in my current personal life and my work life.